Hello guys, Dave here. So a couple of weeks ago I posted a video on my channel about a project that I had done on the go about 3D printing the models from the game No Man's Sky. I had printed a full-size experimental weapon. I'll put a card above my head now and you can check that out if you haven't already seen it. And the project's still ongoing. I'll just quickly show you in 2 seconds. So as you can see, the weapon is being filled and is in quite a lot of primer at the moment. I've still got a lot more priming to do and rubbing and all that kind of stuff, and I'll get into that in a separate video. So just to let you know that I am still working on the experimental weapon, and this week especially I'll be able to concentrate on it a bit more because I'm actually having to self-isolate at the moment. So yeah, what I thought I'd do in this video is go into the details of how I ripped the models from the game, processed them, and got them ready for 3D printing. So first of all, the stuff that I'm using to rip, I've got some software installed onto my PC. I'm using Windows 10. So guys, if you're using Linux, iOS, anything like that, I can't really help you because I'm just using a Windows-based system. And I'm using a piece of software called nmsmv, and that is the No Man's Sky model viewer. Also, next piece of software that I use is Blender. Blender is a free piece of software that you can get either Google and download, or you can get it for free also on the Steam store. So you can download Blender, and that is the software that I use to edit the models and make them more presentable. And you'll understand that more the more I get into the video, because this is not as easy as it seems. Right, third of all, I use a piece of software that's included with Windows 10. I think it's either included in some versions or you can download it off the Windows Store, and it's called 3D Builder. And I'll go into details of what that will do at a later stage. And then I use Creality slicer. I used to use Cura. I don't use Cura anymore. I think Creality slicer is a lot better for my printer because I have a Creality printer. So as I was saying, I use an Ender 3. These can be done on any printer, but I will concentrate, if I refer to my printer, it's a Creality Ender 3. It's an old one, but I've tuned this printer to its absolute limits and I get fantastic quality prints out of it. Okay, so as I was saying, I use a piece of software called the nmsmv, which is the No Man's Sky model viewer. I'll stick a link in the description to download this piece of software. It's by Greg K. Waste, and it's a free piece of software, and all of the installation instructions are on this page. I'm not going to give you any installation instructions because everybody's PC is different. The release version at the moment is 0.89.4. I am actually using, if you go over to here, I'm using the pre-release 0.901, and I've had no problems with it so far. But this is the software that actually accesses the game and pulls the models out of the game. So if you want to head over to the link, as I say, I'll put it down in the description, and install it, get it running, and yeah, you should be able to have a look at the models as they are in the game. Okay, so I fired up the No Man's Sky model viewer, and once it's loaded in all the models from the game, if you go to File and Open from a Pack, .pak, it will bring up a list of models that are in the game. There is a shed ton of them. Okay. Now, the way that No Man's Sky holds its models, it's held in these packs of files, and the only way I can really describe it is because there is so many models. For instance, let me go down and find. Okay, so if I scroll down through the models, you can see that they are split up into different types. This is models, common models, spacecraft, S-class, and if you notice here, royal parts. Now if you see we've only got a few files here, but the royals are all the exotic ships. So, for instance, we've got a Royal Engine A, Engine B, Engine C. We've got the landing gear. We've got the top wing A, top wing B, top wing C. And what No Man's Sky does, it will select a model, and however it does it from the seed, will pick, say for instance, Engine A, and then it'll pick top wing B, and then it'll pick wing C, and that's how you get different variations on the ships. So if I was, for instance, going to let you look at the landing gear, it loads the landing gear in. And if I just zoom out, it's very dark, this program, and I do apologise that you can't see very much about it. I'll just zoom out. I'm sure there's a way of making this faster, but I'm bound to screw it up while I'm trying to do the video. Cam speed, here we go. And there is the landing gear for all of the royals. So that is for the guppies, the royals, the tri-wings, whatever. And all you need to do is, if that's the part that you want out of the game, you right click and you export it to an OBJ file. And you do that for all the different parts of the ships that you want. I mean, you can basically take all the royals, which will be all the exotics, export all the parts, and then you can load them into Blender and select which part you want for your ship. And I shall show you that in a minute. But just to give you another example of... Now the other thing that I was interested in was the multi-tools. And if you see here, there is a file called Common Weapons Multi-Tool Scene. Now the way that No Man's Sky has saved this is that every single multi-tool will be loaded into this scene. So if I was to select it now and load it in, there are some errors as it's loading in. But in this absolute mess that's on the screen is every single multi-tool, and they're all mixed up together. And I shall show you this better in Blender in a minute, but all I need to do is export it to an OBJ. So I'm going to create a new folder on here. And this is weapons. I'm going to save it. Now I'm going to show you what that looks like when I put it into Blender, and get ready for a bit of a shock. Okay, so the file is loaded in. And if I zoom up on it, as I was saying, every single weapon, alien, rifle, pistol, experimental, is in this file. So what I had to do was to call up a reference picture on my second monitor of whatever weapon I want, and go through every single part that I didn't want and delete it. So if you notice, there's lots of different rifle butts here. There's all different barrels, and you literally have to go through every single part of this model and delete the parts. If you notice, that's the experimental part there. You've got the crystals, but you've also got the teeth on top. And I went through, and if you notice here, if I drag this down, there are quite literally hundreds of different parts that you'll need to remove to get a successful print at the end, to get a successful model. Now if I was to load what I actually import SDL, and eventually, for instance, if I wanted an alien weapon, this is what it would come out like. So once you've got your model selected that you want, and you've deleted all the parts, you can then export it as an STL file, and that will export it in a format that, for one thing, your 3D printer should be able to pick it up as, But before we do that, we need to repair it, and just to make sure that there is no errors with this 3D print, because these models were not meant to be in real life. There are parts inside them that shouldn't be, and there are open voids inside them that shouldn't be as well. Now the next piece of software, as I mentioned, is a program called 3D Builder, and this is free from the Microsoft Store. As I said, I'm using Windows 10. I don't know if this works on any other versions of Windows. I couldn't tell you that, but I use it on Windows 10. It's free, and this has a really good function on it. So if I load, for instance, this object here, which is one of the walkers from the game, so it looks really quite good, doesn't it? So when I go to import the model, it does say at the bottom that one or more of the objects are invalidly defined. Now what if I'd have gone to print this straight away? There are hollows inside of this model, and it would have completely screwed up. So this works with a lot of the models, like the exotics, for instance. If I didn't go through this process, like the bull cockpit, for instance, was completely destroyed because it has an open void inside it that the 3D printer couldn't pick up. So all I have to do now is to click on this object. Okay, so that's repaired. I'm going to rotate that. You can just have a quick look at it. And there it is. That's one of the walkers, the Sentinel walkers. That'd be quite a hard print to print on a filament printer. As I say, I think some of these models would work a lot better on a resin printer. I have also imported some of the ship models. So if I open one of those up, we discard that. And here we go. Here's one already repaired. And for those of you that are fans of Survival Bob on YouTube, this is his 99 Problems ship that he is missing at the moment. And I put it together out of the files. I can't print this on my filament printer, on my FDM printer. It is just way too complex. I could probably cut it up and print it larger, but I've tried to print it at my bed size and it just falls to bits. So I think this is another model that would be quite suitable for a resin printer. But yeah, so that looks really good. It's a really nice model. And again, a really, really beautiful model. Another ship is one of the Explorers. This is one of my favourite Explorer ships. And as you can see, it is absolutely stunning. I'm not sure how I'd print this out. I would probably have to chop it into bits and do it quite large, to be honest with you. Which brings me on to the next segment of this video, is how did I make things bigger and to print them. Because my printer will only print 200 by 200 mil, which is really quite small. So how did I do it? Now, first of all, with the experimental, let me pull it in. Okay, so this is the experimental that I am printing at the moment in all its glory. First of all, to get its I'll import the model. There we go. I needed to get a rough idea of how big this was, because I have no idea how big these models should have been. So what I did, I looked at a picture of my player character holding the gun itself, and there's quite a lot of good functions on this piece of software, and one of them is measure. Now I noticed that the player's hand was the size of this hole here, so all I did, I measured from this point here up to here. I think it was about 100 mil, and then I sized the model accordingly so that there was going to be a 100 mil hole there, and the gun would be the full size then, if that makes any sense. And then I had to decide how to cut it up. Now, I looked on Google and YouTube of how to cut 3D prints up successfully, and it got really, really complex. People were saying put it in Mesh Mixer and do this and do that to it, and with all sorts of results. But in 3D Builder, there is some really, really nice functions, and one of them is called split. So if I was to split, and there's an option up here to keep both sides, if I split it there, then all of a sudden, there we go, it's, the gun is split in two, and then I can split it into further pieces and save each part as I go along. And that's exactly what I did. I split the gun up into 8 different pieces and then printed them. They were really, really long prints. I mean, not joking. I think it was between 90 and 100 hours just to print the weapon, and but it came out successfully. So that is how I fix the weapon and split it ready for printing. I hope that makes sense, guys. I'm trying not to go into too much detail, but because it's pretty self-explanatory. But if you do have any questions, don't forget to just drop them in the comments. I will try and answer as many as I can, or if you want me to go into further detail of how to do this. But this is basically just a rough guide of how I did it. And then finally, for years I've been using Cura on my printer, but later versions of Cura have not been good. Their supports that they use for supporting the print while it is actually printing have just been atrocious. They've been pulling the print to pieces, and it shouldn't be like that. So I've been using Creality's own slicing software. And for instance, if I was to load Survival Bob ship in here, this is what it would look like, and it would tell me how long it will take to print in this size. As I say, this is way, way too small for my printer. It just wouldn't be able to cope with it. So this is a 3-hour 16 print, but I mean, you can change the size. I would definitely think about printing this either 5 or 6 times bigger and cut it into pieces. I'd probably cut the wings off, and I would cut the body down the middle in 2, so I could have 2 flat edges, and the detail would be saved. There wouldn't be any supports in. If you're going to print something, you want to cut out as many supports as possible. So I would cut the wings off, stand them on their edges so they wouldn't have any supports. It would just be a decent print. Cut the body in half and rotate one of them and have and glue it all back together again afterwards. So with 3D printing, it is, I think printing is not a problem. It's getting the right orientation for your prints to be printed so that you don't have supports that are pulling bits of the print apart. So there you have it, guys. It was a really rough video of how I did things. If you do have any questions, or if you want me to go into any further detail, then I will do. Those are the tools I use. As I said, I'm on Windows 10. I only use those pieces of software. There are probably other ways of doing it, and if you come up with a better option for me, then for other people, just let me know, because I'll be quite happy to give it a go, test it out. I shall do a video updating you on the experimental. Going to be working on that this week. Hopefully get it into Paint, and I'm really looking forward to that. And if you want to check out my Thingiverse page, I have put some models up on Thingiverse. So if you don't want to go through the rigmarole of taking the models out of the game, and you just want to 3D print some No Man's Sky models, then why not go and check those out. If there's any models that you think to yourself, oh, I'd really like my my ship up there, let me know. I'll see what I can do for you. I don't have a huge amount of time, but I'll see what I can do for you. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video, guys. If you have, leave a like. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. So take it easy. Ta-ra.